I'm
Hey.
so glad you guys are here tonight. I'm Wes. This is Zach. This is not Young Adult Live yet. This is the pre-show.
We are young adults, and this is live.
Yeah. I mean, you are a younger adult than I.
It's true. You're not even a young adult. You're old.
Oh, well, at least I'm not as old as Gabe.
Got it.
So Gabe's already got, he'll always have 3 years. So
You won't catch him?
Nope, I'll never catch him. He'll always be older.
That's awfully negative.
Is it?
You pessimistic?
No.
You could do it.
How is that being negative? I'll
You could
always
catch
catch
him.
him. That means I look up to him. I strive after him. How is it?
Keep going. You'll
don't
catch
try
him.
to make that negative.
You can do it, Wes.
Yeah.
I believe in you.
Basically, Gabe is awesome.
Where is this?
Where is what? Oh, you're trying to do that.
the-
I just want to take this time and talk about how bad Gabe and I beat Zach this morning.
That's so not true.
at
Okay,
disc
you guys,
golf.
I won for the
Just-
first time in my whole life.
Hey, you got to turn your computer down. It's
I'll-
making noise.
You got it. Okay.
While he's doing that, I will tell you the real truth. Gabe and I lost to Zach. It's true, but with an asterisk. There's
Okay, I would have won
like
anyways.
Zach won with a little star.
Okay,
you
so
know.
one hole, second hole, there's like a tree 10 feet in front of the platform.
How far in front of the platform?
Like 10 feet.
10 feet.
No joke,
You
10
hit
feet.
You hit a tree 10 feet in front of you.
I did.
Yep.
And it was embarrassing, so they let me go again. So that's the asterisk, but I still won by like 3 or 4 strokes. 5, 10, 12 strokes.
Not even that. No.
Yeah, I ended like 12 under, right?
No. You ended with 1 under.
And what were you?
What was I?
Yeah.
Not 1 under.
What were you?
Well, today was a bad day, actually. I was plus 4, I think. Plus 4. Yeah, it was a bad day for me. My arm kind of hurts.
Yeah.
Yep.
'Cause
But it's
you're
all right.
A wuss.
I'm
Is that why?
gonna ride it tomorrow because tomorrow there's an epic game going on at
The
Corbin.
duel of genders.
The duel. Yep. So there's a don't talk about this being okay. I'm sorry. There's a sign that said don't talk about
It's a
this sign.
secret.
But I was talking about
guess.
it. All right.
We'll talk about it
What?
later.
No, I didn't read the whole thing. Oh, I'm gonna keep. Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
So anyway, tomorrow we have a game going on tomorrow because we were challenged. Zach and myself were challenged to I have no. We're challenged to a game and by some ladies, Allie, Shay, Jenny Lee, formally challenged myself.
They threw down the gauntlet.
Yep.
And we're picking it up.
Luke and Nick will be joining us. Luke's in the room here tonight. Yep, Allie's in the room here tonight, and we are gonna wipe the floor. They bet us that they could beat us, and they went as far as the winning team gets a free pizza. So
And we ate pizza today,
Yep.
but it sounds like we're going to eat pizza 2 days in a
we're
row.
gonna eat a lot of pizza tomorrow. So
Yeah. How many pizzas? Did we just bet 1 pizza?
I think it's
or enough pizza to
Yep.
to
just one
fill
pizza.
us up.
I'm getting info as we speak. Just one pizza.
just
So.
a single pizza.
Yep. So we're gonna go with the most expensive pizza around. Yep. We're gonna pick it. It's winner's choice, right? Winner's choice. Yeah. Pretty much. All right.
We call in from like Chicago.
Yep.
Have them deliver.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
It's on.
So we're gonna do that tomorrow. So if you guys don't have anything going on tomorrow morning, go down to Corbin, watch us. Yep. It's gonna be fun.
I don't do well with the crowd. I'll throw it in the river
I'll do.
in front of
Oh,
everyone.
you had to bring that up. I lost a disc in the river.
You did.
a
What was her
couple days
name?
ago. Huh?
What was her name?
Sheila.
Sheila.
Sheila. Yeah.
He had a disc named Sheila.
Yeah.
He wasn't kind to her.
No, she
He
would
hit a lot of trees with that disc.
Sheila the Destroyer because she was yeah. I'd throw it and it would just nail a tree every
Chop
time.
some trees. Almost down.
Yep.
Mm.
Cut a few branches.
Yep.
And then lo and behold, I had a bad throw, and she curved left, clear out in the middle of.
She was
the
probably
river.
running away from you.
What? No.
She probably didn't want to be your disc anymore.
Wait, I might have hit some trees, but at least my disc isn't as beat up as yours.
Okay. I bought a disc from Walmart.
That's where
Not
I
a
got mine.
sponsor. And it
Not a
was
sponsor.
it's a piece of junk. but it works for what it is.
Yep. I'm teaching Zach the tomahawk throw.
Mm-hmm. Well, the student has become the master, so.
I'm not even gonna acknowledge that comment because it's not true.
What? Who won today? By a lot.
Who's won the last 19 games?
That doesn't matter.
Luke raises his hand. You're right.
Luke won the last 19 games. Although I'm most of the time in last.
Yep.
I'll admit that.
We talk a lot about disc golf.
That's true. That's just what's been on our mind lately.
Yep. Here in the next few weeks, it's going to be fishing because I do a ton of fishing.
Yeah, I don't like to fish when I don't catch fish, though.
Well, that's called catching. That's why
I
call
like
it fishing.
catching. I don't care for fishing.
Yep.
I get out there like 10 minutes later. If I haven't caught anything, I'm like, well, they must not be biting today. And then I go home.
Or it's operator ear.
Could be.
I think that's what it is.
I'm
Anyway,
humble enough
what
to
do
admit it.
we got some stuff on the desk right here. What you want to talk about some of that?
Yeah, so we have Ozark Trail sponsoring us tonight.
No,
and so
They're
no,
not
just
a
kidding.
sponsor.
They're not a sponsor. We just
we just
picked a bunch
realized
of
as soon as
things
we got
and
back.
realized when we got back that they're all Ozark Trail.
Ozark
So,
Trail, which is good stuff.
Yeah, camping stuff. We got a 5-piece mess kit
Mm-hmm.
and a gift card.
What's a mess kit?
It's how you cook a mess and eat it.
Oh.
Or I don't know. What is in it?
You could read the
A
box.
fry pan,
Yeah.
a plate, a 7-ounce cup with a lid. I'm not sure what the lid is for. Not the cup, I don't think. And then a 0.5 quart pot. So
I want to take a moment and talk about how awesome you sold that just now.
I'm not a salesman, okay? I'm not good at it.
Like
I don't like it.
you put so much into that.
I'm
felt
not
like there was
I'm
so
not
much-
passionate about salesmanship.
No.
So I just read what's on there.
No. All right.
Anyways,
Well,
what
on
else
this side
do
of the
we
table, we have a 2-person plastic camp table setting set in a mesh bag. It's got spoons, knives, forks, a plate, a couple plates in there, a couple bowls. It's pretty good. So, what do we have in front of us? We also have 2 Easy Float lounges,
Yes.
rafts, inflatable rafts.
Uh-huh.
They try to pawn it off as Easy Float Lounge. It's a raft.
Mm.
We have 2 rafts. We're giving those away tonight.
Yep.
Actually, we're not giving them away. You have to earn them. We'll talk about how you earn them later. You gotta be good at answering questions.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
we have those. And what do we have in the middle here?
We have another plant.
We have
You
another
guys.
plant.
Another plant. This one is one of my favorites.
Togo.
His name is Togo.
Togo.
His name? Her name?
His name.
His name.
Togo.
His name is Togo.
Togo, the teddy bear vine.
And they're from India. And they're very soft.
Mm-hmm.
The leaves are very soft. Yep.
So you have the potential of taking Togo home. How did we come up with the name Togo?
So there's a lot of businesses, restaurants,
Right
that
now.
have what they're selling along with Togo.
But yeah, there's signs everywhere.
Yeah.
You're driving down because a lot of them are curbside delivery only.
Right.
And they have listed like food items or drink items, and then one of them is always Togo. And
I don't know what that is.
What's Togo? If you guys want to let us know what Togo is we were thinking about calling one of the restaurants and
Yeah.
asking them what
Yeah.
Togo is.
We should still do that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We could do that right now.
Well, if I don't find out what Togo is soon,
It's a
then
menu
I'm going to have
item,
to
but
call
I don't-
someone and ask.
Yeah. We should? All right. Hey, I'm going to do that right now.
Call Capone's.
Yeah. Let's see.
Texas Roadhouse.
It's called.
Well, what's a sign that says Togo on it?
Doesn't Capone's have one?
They do.
All right. Let me.
But it's also has alcoholic beverages on it.
Oh.
And we don't talk about those.
Oh, oh.
So,
Oh. Okay. Let's see. We got the number here.
you guys
Giving
are
this-
commenting Togo.
Togo.
That's what we mean.
Yeah,
What is Togo?
Right. T-O space G-O. Togo. I'm not understanding.
Oh,
Are we doing this? Put this on speakerphone.
do it.
You want to do this?
Are you
All
calling Capone's?
We're calling.
All right, do it.
We're calling.
Yes. We might actually have to buy something though. He said ask for Togo as a topping
Yeah.
if you guys
Figure
can't
that
hear
out.
at home.
I hope they answer. Hi. I had a question for you guys. I noticed I was driving by. You guys are open for curbside, right? Curbside delivery.
Yeah, curbside and delivery.
Perfect. One of your signs on there, it's what's Togo?
Just to go for any of the food. Oh, for the pricing or
Well, it says Togo, like, but I don't. I know it's to go, but I don't want to order it unless, like, what is it? Togo.
I guess I don't understand. It's just the to go. Was there a charge for it, or is there?
No, it's just on the sign on the, like, you have like some drink. I think it's like beer, wine, Togo.
Yeah, so we can do cocktails, beer. We've got all new bottled stuff. So like Lucille's base stuff. We've got the 10-barrel like Greyhound, Moscow Mule, pineapple
Perfect.
margarita.
All right.
And all growlers are 25% off fills. So yeah, we can do it all.
Perfect.
Is it
All right.
like
well,
Is it a drink?
it's like
Did you want
so.
to order this or?
No, it's like Togo's a drink then, right?
No, to go. It's just I think it's the sign is just telling you that we're open for to go food.
Oh.
Dine in.
Oh. I'm okay. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay. Thanks. Bye. Well,
Oh, that
turns
made my
out
entire
it's
year.
to go.
Oh.
Like you can get stuff to
Okay.
go. Oh. Thanks for that one.
Ah.
Yep.
That made me so happy, you guys.
Oh, like Zach and I have been talking about that for a week now.
Yeah. She's going
Hey,
to
if
be
you
telling her
just-
friends about that. Some stupid guy called me and didn't know what to go was.
If you're just tuning in, this is the pre-show, the young adult pre-show with Zach and myself. My name's Wes. Hopefully you got on here before that whole mishap.
Yeah, we do know what to go means.
To
If you were
to
wondering,
go. Yep.
Yeah.
Long story short, that's how we got the name of Togo, the plant.
Togo
Yep,
the plant.
Togo the plant, the
is
teddy
a
bear vine.
Indian teddy bear vine.
Yep.
It's a hanging plant also.
Yep. I
Those
just
are
took the
hip
things
and
off, so you
happening,
can hang
I
that.
heard. So
Mhm. I got to see if we were.
what are people saying?
I don't know. Classic zinger from Jenny. Well, what did Jenny say on here? Wes should be on Broadway with these acting skills.
He was a
What?
part of an acting crew.
Yeah,
So
I actually had a professional
professional.
comedy team. Yeah.
How professional?
Like,
Pretty dang.
known around the county.
Wow. That is professional.
Yeah. No,
Very cool.
I was a part of I'm co-founder of a No Traction Comedy, which is an improv group. So I can act serious
Yeah,
and mess
that was
around
great.
when I want to.
That was so
In
funny.
all honesty, it was so hard just because there's people staring at me watching me do
I
this
know.
and worrying about that she was gonna get mad. But, hey, she
Why
was a
would
good
she
sport.
get mad? She
was
did
good.
great.
Well, and she
Whoever
was even
that is
polite about
at
it.
Capone's, good job.
You could tell just by the tone of her voice that she pitied me.
Uh-huh.
She showed. Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like I need
that
to go
was so
apologize. No.
funny. No, don't. That probably made her entire year. She'll be telling that story forever.
Jenny said if someone called this at my old T-Bell job, I'd just hang up. Yep.
Well, that's not very customer servicey.
Oh. What kind of plant is it? Courtney's wanting to know what kind of plant. It's a teddy bear vine,
Yeah.
so you can hang it. It's super soft. You probably can't tell, but there's like velvet on the leaves.
It feels really
Really
nice.
soft. Yep.
Yeah. That's why we picked it,
Yeah.
because it's soft. And it's a teddy bear plant. So it just
Yeah.
makes sense. And his name is Togo.
Togo, the
you
teddy
missed
bear
that.
plant. Wes made her day. I hope she's laughing right now. I hope
Uh-huh.
she's talking to her coworkers about what a goof I am.
You are a goof.
I am.
Yep.
Hey, I learned
That
from
was
the best.
That was funny.
Sitting across from me. Yeah.
We're going to move on. What else are we? Oh, did we talk about everything we're
Yeah, well,
we're
we
doing
talked
away?
about. I mean, we have the rafts that we can use for floating.
Yeah, you
Well,
can
not
use
we,
for
but
floating
the
on
winners
water
will use. Yeah.
or sledding.
So- it's
It's never too early to think about sledding.
that's another week.
No. Okay, so you guys,
Whoa.
my friends get tired of me asking to go sledding. And so
Yeah.
they said a while ago, every time I bring it up, we're not going for another week.
Yep. Every time Zach brings up sledding, whether it's asking to go, bringing up a conversation, talking about sledding just now, we add one more week that he has to wait.
Yeah.
To
We're
go
at like
sledding.
14 years right now. So I need new friends is
Zach
really
will
what I'm
be,
saying.
Zach will be, you'll probably have grandkids by the time you can go sledding.
Well, I'll take my grandkids sledding. I don't need you.
Oh, that's another week. You said it. That's one more week.
I don't even care anymore.
I
I'll go by myself.
go what by yourself?
Whoever wins this, there's 2.
Yeah.
You can take one sledding. I can come.
There's
with
another
ya.
week. What is that? 3 weeks
I'm
since
gonna
just
dump this water
I can take it.
in my mouth. I'm gonna dump it in my mouth.
Take a drink. We got about a minute left. Thanks so much for joining us. If you came, just like got on in about a random time, you probably have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
We probably look odd, but it's okay. This is just the pre-show with Zach and Wes. We're gearing up for Young Adult Live tonight.
Yes.
It's gonna be good. We
It'll be
have
what, 6 minutes?
Yeah, no, we have about
6 minutes from now.
Yep.
1 more minute of us talking,
we have Paul Ward.
and then 5 minutes of a countdown.
Paul Ward sharing a story
Yes.
tonight. He shared a story a few months ago.
Uh huh.
A few months ago, with the quarantine, I've lost track of time. So I know Paul has shared his story. Whether it was 1 month ago or 6 months ago, it's all the same to me. But he has shared a story. It's an amazing story. Paul's an amazing guy. And so you guys are in for a ride. It's going to be good. So he's sharing his story tonight. We got a fun game tonight we're going to play with some new players that are in the house, people that you might not have seen on screen since we've done this. Actually, you haven't seen them on screen, so it's going to be awesome.
Yes. I'm excited.
They're pumped.
Joe
We're
Garcia says that he needs friends too.
Joe Garcia.
You and me, Joe, we'll go sledding as soon as
4
we're
weeks.
able.
There's a month right there. You just you
Hey,
in. 1
You
month.
win the Kahoot.
Yep.
I'll be your friend forever.
Yep. Well, thanks so much for being here with us tonight. Make sure you stay logged on or use this time to use the restroom, but come back. We'll be back
Maybe
for
get
Young
some
Adult
pizza.
Lives here, Young Adult Live
Lives.
here in a couple minutes. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you soon.
We're so glad that you've joined us tonight. And hey, listen, we know that you could be doing a variety of things right now. The weather's nice. Well, you're limited on some things because you can't really go out and do something. But you could be doing other things, but you're here watching us, and we appreciate that, and we're thankful for that. Hey, I want to tell you something right off the gate that's just going to get a smile on your face. This is going to be the last Real Life Young Adults Live. Now, that might be sad. However, the alternative is we are going to be back in person next week. So, in 7 days, in 1 week from tonight, we are back in Building 2 together again. There will be few restrictions to what we can do as these different phases progress, and we are able to kind of loosen up the reins on some social distancing protocols. However, next week we will be back. So we hope to see you in person next week. Building 2, 7 o'clock. Be there. We want to see you. For tonight, we got a great night planned. Like Wes said earlier, we got Paul Ward sharing his story tonight as we continue in our Overcomers series, as we're talking about people's stories and the power that is in them. So we're looking forward to that. We have some prizes, some giveaways. We have a to-go plant, or Togo, however you want to pronounce it. However, we got some things to give away to you. So be ready to be engaged. Be ready to use that chat. We're going to be asking you some things. We want you to interacting with us, and so make sure you're doing that. As always, if you have questions about the sermon tonight, type that in the chat as well, and we'll give some responses at the end as well. Right now, I'm going to kick it back over to Zach and Wes, and they're going to run through a few things with you now.
All right. Hey, so glad you guys are back. We're back next week.
I know.
Sorry, I'm excited about that.
It's going to be sweet.
It's going to be great.
We want to see everyone who's watching right now.
How come you don't sound as excited as I've been?
I'm excited internally.
Internally?
Yeah. It comes out externally every once in a while, but
Yeah.
you just never know when it's going to, so I can't control that.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
It's a surprise.
Right.
We're so glad you guys are here tonight. If you could do us a favor and make sure you text in your attendance. You're going to have that on your screen.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know who's joining us. We want to know who's hanging out.
Right.
We want to know who's partying. And we want to know who's going to take home Togo.
Right. That is how we decide who gets Togo.
Togo the teddy bear vine. Not only do you get Togo, the hanging teddy bear vine, but you do also get a $25 gift card to Cold Stone.
Oh my gosh.
So make sure you guys are texting in your attendance.
Can I win that?
No, you can't win. No, you can't win. Only the people that are watching at home can win.
Also, if you are not following us on social media, that is a great way to stay connected with us, to hear what's going on, to hear some devotionals every once in a while. So follow us on Instagram at 18. What? Young Adults.
Young Adults.
Real Life
1825.
I knew as soon as I started, I was wrong. Real Life Young Adults, 1825.
It's a good thing it's going to be on the screen.
Yep.
Real Life Young Adults 1825.
Just look at your screen.
On the
you don't have
Instagram.
to listen to me.
On the Instagrams,
and the Facebooks. Yep.
Or Andrew Avu calls it the Fache book. Yep.
Oh.
We're going to be on there. So
All right.
make sure you guys are checking that out. We want to know. We want to be around.
Yes.
We want to know you're there.
We're going to kick it over to a couple other guys. They'll introduce themselves for some more.
It's a surprise.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. So we're going to kick it over to them.
Hey guys, Steven Schaefer here, and we got also
Luke Regan. It's good to see you guys.
Yeah, it's awesome to see you guys. Hey, we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about a cool opportunity here at Real Life called School of Ministry. Me and Luke both are year 1 students, and it's just a super awesome opportunity to get to grow with the Lord and just dive into ministry head first. Luke, you want to tell us a little bit about what this year has been like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, a lot of it's just been huge growth in my own personal life, identifying gifts, having those gifts affirmed by multiple people, being in a super tight-knit relational environment with a lot of different people. Stephen and I are, we both serve with young adults, so we've been in mentoring together this entire year, and so just being able to grow closer to him this year, seeing growth in his own life and seeing him develop has been super cool for me, but also super cool to have him challenge and encourage me in my own walk. And, it's been super challenging, but the payout is super worth it. Just to see who I was at the start of this year and seeing where I'm at now has been huge. It's hard to recognize myself sometimes, but it's definitely worth everything that's been put into it. So,
Yeah, definitely. Super awesome to see the growth in you too, man. That's so good. If you guys are interested in it, you can find out more on reallifeministries.com/young adults.
Young dash adults. Sorry.
Dash
Sorry.
adults.
Sorry, there you go.
My bad. But anyways, go check that out. The application's on there. So if you guys are interested, I just strongly urge you to go take a look at it.
You're coming back next year, right?
That's my plan.
Plan for me too. You get to hang out with both of us, so that's another win, I'd say, right? Hang out
I
with
think
us
so.
two all year. So
Awesome. Well, we're going to send it back to Zach and Wes. They got some more stuff for you.
Are they trying to like tell us something?
I don't know. I feel a little offended that I'm not a part of the mustache crew.
Me
But
too. Well, I
whatever.
shaved yesterday, so I don't think I have that problem.
oh, okay, cool.
I mean, you might want to shave.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, we're here to talk to you guys about the Real Life Retreat, the Real Life Young Adults Retreat. It is no longer in May. It is now been moved to June 26th through the 28th. There's going to be food,
Music. The biggest thing
games.
that we're going to be doing is like connections. I remember when I went to a retreat, my biggest fear was that I wasn't going to meet anyone. I was afraid that everyone was going to be in their own friend group, but everyone that went was super inviting, and they just loved getting to know me, and it made me feel so much more welcome and so much more open to wanting
Yeah.
to go to a retreat. Maybe we could braid each other's hair.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a little short, so that might be hard. You can braid my hair.
Yeah.
Get on your knees. Yeah.
No, I don't want to get on my knees.
Whatever. Oh, okay.
Are you going?
I am going. Where is it taking place?
It is taking place at Schweitzer Chapel, or as I like to nicely say, Sebastian.
Yeah, she accidentally said Sebastian Chapel, but it is Schweitzer Chapel. Schweitzer. I have a really hard time with that
Schweitzer.
word. Schweitzer.
Schweitzer.
It's at Schweitzer Chapel. So don't put in Sebastian because in your Google Maps you won't find it.
No.
No.
I don't think you will.
No. Yeah, so super stoked. And you can find more information
Yes.
at...
Yes, you can find more information at reallifeministries.com/young-adults. Nailed it.
Oh, what's up, boys?
I totally rehearsed that.
Sweet. All right, we're going to kick it back to Wes and Zach.
That's some good stuff. We got some really cool things coming down.
Yes.
I'm super excited for the summer retreat.
Yes.
I know it just says in the comments spring retreat, but it's the summer retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Super excited about that
Why is it called the summer retreat?
because it's in the summertime. It's not in springtime anymore. It's in the
Well, that would
summertime.
make sense. Okay.
Yeah. So just want to recap. We are back next week.
Next
This is
week,
the
in
last
person.
Young Adult Live. So we will see you guys in person.
Building
you get
2.
to hang out with Zach and I in person and relive how awkward we are in person.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yep. As well as church in person. Sunday service
Yep.
is here at the church, Building 1, for regular service times. So definitely come to that as well.
Yep.
See
And like I
people
said, there's
from a
you know
distance.
there's gonna be procedures. There's gonna be certain things that we need to do, but we can do that.
Right.
Like, it's worth
Unless
it.
you're sick.
Unless you're sick.
If you are sick, don't be there. We love you, but just
Yeah.
be smart.
Yep. We're going to move to our meet and greet. Again, up for grabs on the meet and greet is our 2-person plastic camp table setting. So, did I say
It's
that
for
word?
2 people.
It's for 2 people. I mean, it doesn't have to be for 2 people.
You could probably use it for more than that, but
Yep.
you might have to share germs, which we're not doing
No.
right now.
We're not doing that. So
You wait till
it's a
phase
2-person.
4. I think in phase 4 we can share germs again. Until then,
No
it's for
sharing
2
germs
people.
at all. So our meet and greet question today, feel free.
Feel free, do it,
Use
or you're
the
a wimp.
chat online for your answers. We want to know if you could change any fashion trend, what would it be? So go ahead and
Sweet
enter
Jesus.
that on.
Okay, the question is, if you could bring back any fashion trend,
Bring back any fashion. I read that
what
wrong.
would it be?
If you could bring back any fashion
So
trend.
answer in the comments, and we'll pick whoever we like the best.
Yep.
Not the person, the
Whoa.
answer.
We will pick the
If
most
you get
creative
picked,
answer.
don't get a big head. We don't like you the best. We wouldn't say so if we. I don't. Anyways, comment in the comment section, the
Yep.
chat room section.
Yep.
What would you bring back?
Bring back
Yeah.
what fashion trend? Okay,
Yeah.
this is gonna date me a little bit, but Jinko jeans.
What are Jinko jeans?
Jinko jeans. You should look those up. Jinko jeans basically were oversized. So picture a. They turn into a parachute basically. They're just
What?
Yeah, and pockets
Are they
that
for
go
safety as
pockets that go
well?
all the way down to the bottom of the leg. Yep.
What?
Do it. Google
How could
Jinko
you
jeans.
possibly get what it's in your pocket out of your pants?
Well, you know,
That
hey,
is so impractical.
more importantly, how could anybody steal your wallet in the pockets of
That's
Jinko
fair.
jeans? So, and basically, I hear girls' jeans don't even have pockets or fake pockets a lot of the time. So, Jinko jeans works that way. So, what are your greaser biker gang attire?
Nice.
Caitlin?
Full plate armor.
Caitlin's
Love it.
greaser biker gang attire. Jukeboxes everywhere.
Denim
Well-
and leather jackets.
Hey, I want to take this.
You already brought
moment
those
right
back,
here
Austin.
to give a shout out, Mr. Joe Garcia. Happy birthday!
Yes.
Joe is turning 73.
Yeah.
I'm lying. He's not.
Well,
Joe, happy
Okay.
birthday! Shout out to you. Feel free to say happy birthday in the chat as well. But let's see what's full plate armor. Yep.
Anything from
Mariah
the
said
70s.
the 1920s.
fedora
fashion.
hats. Please no.
Fedora hats. No, you don't like fedora hats?
No. I don't know. It's
What do you have against
there are
fedora?
very few people that can pull them off.
What's Laurel? What gaucho pants?
What is that?
What is a gaucho pants?
Oh, like a Skort?
A skirt in pant, like skirts?
a flowy
Oh.
skirt with a seam up the middle.
No. Why? Why would you bring those back?
Yeah, I don't know.
I would say I'd bring back light up shoes, but that already happened. I saw some at Walmart, and I've seen them quite a bit. I want light up shoes.
Yeah. Dude, Heelys? That's what I would bring back. Final
they
answer.
haven't really gone anywhere. So, what are you thinking, Zach?
I liked the full plate armor.
Full plate,
That's bringing it way back.
way back. Full plated armor. Who said that?
Cameron Alexander.
Cameron Alexander. Are you gonna pick that? Is that
That's
your,
my vote. What's
answer?
your
All right.
vote?
Full plated armor.
All right.
Yeah.
I like it.
So
This
congratulations,
means you have
Cameron.
to wear it next week.
Because we
at
chose
Young
your
Adult.
answer. 2-person plastic camp set, but you can't use that
Or
for
just
two
one
people
person
until
if you're
phase
really hungry.
4.
Yeah.
Yep.
No sharing with more than 2, though.
Nope.
Yep.
Thanks for
Cool. All right,
Thanks
we
for answering
are
on that.
gonna
We're
play
gonna go to Kahoot.
the game we've been playing the last couple weeks on
It's
Kahoot.
Yep.
What is the category this week?
So the category this week on Kahoot is Star Wars.
What?
Yeah.
Star
So we picked
Wars?
Star Wars. Again, nobody in this room can win.
Yeah.
So-
There's one person in this room I think would probably win.
Yep. So for reals though,
Laurel.
nobody in the room can win.
Kidding. Luke
are we-
Regan knows a lot about Star Wars.
Gianna, we going? We good? Yep. So let's get that on the screen. We'll have that back on the screen. The code, go to kahoot.it. The code is 7664574. So in order to be entered in, your nickname has to be your first and last name.
Right.
If it's anything other than your first and last name, we're going to kick you out.
Yeah.
If you forgot how to spell
Forcefully.
your last name, Gianna, we're going to kick you out. So let's see what we got here. We got Laurel Flood, who cannot win. Brian Moen, Derek Simmons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else we got on here? That's it, right
That's
there.
it. Well, okay, the podium's full, you guys.
Example, Bad Nam. Bad Nam.
Oh,
You're having trouble spelling there.
was that you?
Willie
That was
Trogdon's
yep.
on, Tiffany Moen, Jared Morgan. Just so you guys know,
Jump on,
we
you
are
guys.
giving away prizes for third, second, and first place. What do they get for third place, Zach?
Stickers.
They get stickers. So if you're in third place, you win
Get
stickers.
What stickers?
Second place
Hang
is.
on, we got to see the
Oh, we
stickers.
gotta see these
oh,
stickers first.
This is a
Bree
real life
McLeod.
youth
Hi, Bree.
one. I'm not sure we can give you that one. Doesn't belong to us. Anyway,
We can give it away.
they probably don't care.
We're
You
giving
can
it
have
away.
All right, real life young adults, a square with mountains and a sun.
Yep.
And real life, or it says 1825, real life young adults with trees. This one's cool. I like
Yep.
that one.
So that's for third place. Second place, you're gonna get a mess kit and a gift card to
Yes.
Dutch Bros. And if you're in first place, you win the 2 inflatable rafts.
Yeah.
Along with on there is also a protective case. So your
Yes.
phone, you can put your phone
Waterproof.
in the protective case.
Shatterproof.
Yep.
Uh,
We know it's shatterproof because Zach dropped it
diesel
already.
truck proof, probably.
Yep. So we're gonna give it about
Bulletproof.
10, 15 more seconds, and then we're gonna roll.
All right, who's in here?
We got Allie, Austin.
Is our former
Sarah.
winner in there?
Sarah, you can't win.
She might not be.
Jordan Lund, you can't win. Nicole, you cannot win. So we'll be able to go here in just a minute. We
All
got
right, we'll
25
give
players. I say we roll.
4.5 more seconds.
4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Oh,
Oh, Kaylee-Ann, it's only your first name.
leave it. We're fine.
All right. All right. We'll just need to
Young
have
adult,
Kaylee-Ann.
Star Wars. All right, here we go.
3,
2,
2,
1.
1. First question. How many people can fit in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon? So how many people can fit? Your answers are 4, 3, 6, or 8. Answer now.
Did you know the answer to this?
Yeah.
Before we looked it up?
Yeah.
Well, I did not.
Yep, because remember you clicked on it and didn't give you the answer, and I told you 4.
You know, people might hate me for this, but Star Wars is just okay. Luke's looking at me like I
do
killed
we
this
have
puppy.
do we have a way to blur the screen? Because I might attack Zach right here. He
I
just
I
said.
mean, it's good, but it's like a
the-
7 out of 10.
All right. You got about. We have that standby screen ready, right? We might need to. I'm gonna. No, it's okay. I can hold. Oh, nope. No, we're good.
Bring
I'll
it
hold
on,
it together.
man. I have a bulletproof case
All right. We
to use as a weapon.
10 seconds left. If your answer is 4, 3, 6, or 8, 26 answers. Go ahead. You can go ahead and skip.
Skip.
Oh.
No, don't skip it.
And the answer is 4.
Oh.
11 of you got it wrong. Well, actually, 17 of you got it wrong.
That's okay.
That's
Better
right.
luck next time. I wouldn't have known either. So
We got Steven. What? Okay. So in the lead, we have Mariah, Blake, and Jenny Lee. So far, we have in the lead Mariah, Blake, and Jenny Lee. How many languages can C-3PO speak? I actually knew this answer, too.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Is it more than 100,000, more than 7 million, more than 3 million, or more than 500,000?
You know, for someone who's so talented, he gets a lot of flack.
You're right.
You
You're
know?
right.
Like, he knows a lot of languages, whichever it is.
Yep.
Any of those is a lot.
What's going on?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. We got this online, so it's not our fault. So there is only one right answer.
Yep.
And if you try to argue,
I think the people arguing that
Any
there's
of
more
them?
than right answer are the people
yeah,
that
you
are most
picked
likely
the
going to get it
lowest
wrong.
one, and then you got it right,
So,
but you don't.
no.
You don't. You're wrong.
Yep. And this isn't a how close can I get without going
Which
over.
one of those is C-3PO?
C-3PO is the gold one.
I'm just kidding. I've seen him,
Oh,
okay?
and the answer is 7 million. More than 7 million
Wow.
languages. So, yep.
This is hard.
So actually,
tough
there is
one.
only one right answer.
Yep.
It's
that's
that
what we
one. Jordan.
said. More than 7 million. Steven Schaefer.
So in the lead, we have Blake
can't
Gilson,
win. You
Jenny
can't
Lee,
win.
and Haley Trogdon. Steven, you helped us make this. You can't. You have to purposely get the wrong answer.
Good job, Blake.
Up 16
killing it,
places
man.
from last to almost not last is Laura Flood.
She's a good climber, apparently.
All right, we're going to go to the next one.
Next one.
At the end of episode 7, Rey finds Luke Skywalker and says what?
What does she say?
So if you say at the end of it, does she say, I need your help? I found you? May the force be with you? She doesn't say anything.
She
So
looks
pick
so
your answer
sad.
now. I know. She
Why's
she
she
is sad.
sad?
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah. couple times.
Okay. I don't know if I don't know if this is causing somebody's safety to be compromised, but Allie has only ever seen one Star Wars movie, and it was episode 7.
How does she understand any of the story?
She doesn't. She was confused. She skipped all the way to episode 7.
Oh my word.
Yep. So
I think that's a sin.
well.
Good thing grace exists.
Yeah. Good thing. So we have 16 seconds. 23 people. 24.
Get your answer in.
One more. Waiting on
It's
one more person to
automatically
answer.
wrong if you don't answer. If you didn't know that already.
Yep. 6 seconds left.
What does she say?
I know what she says.
Hmm.
And the answer is
She doesn't
doesn't
say
say
anything.
anything.
She just stands there looking sad.
stand there. Well, that's at the end of that. Specifies, to be specific, at the end of 7, she doesn't say anything.
Oh.
In episode 8.
She says stuff in the movie.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Just at that point, she doesn't say anything.
Uh-huh. Okay. Cool. All right. What's the next one?
You know,
Blake Gilson.
Blake Gilson.
Yes.
Yes. So we have Blake Gilson, Derek Simmons, and I don't know who's in third because Stephen Jordan and
All
Gianna
right, you
don't
guys.
count.
We got to know who's on the podium. So you guys got to start getting them wrong.
Yep. So the last 2 questions, questions 4 and 5, are worth 2,000, and the people in the room will purposely get it wrong.
Why did Yoda refuse to train Luke Skywalker at first?
At first.
If you've seen it, he did eventually.
He was too old. He never wore deodorant. He lacked patience, or Yoda was retired.
Luke was disgusting.
I'm pretty sure it's because he never wore deodorant.
Well, and Yoda was on his shoulders. Like
Right.
that would be really uncomfortable for him.
Or like the scene where he's like bouncing upside down and trying to lift it like that.
That's what make him real stinky.
Deodorant.
He's
I
a
don't-
stinky boy.
I would not want people hanging out with me if I forgot to wear deodorant.
Right?
I'd feel bad.
Yeah, isolate yourself.
I
Wear
think-
deodorant,
yep.
you guys.
So, wear
It's-
deodorant.
It's important.
Very important.
All
Very
right.
important.
Was Yoda retired?
Okay.
I don't know.
You know what? One
old
problem
enough.
I had with episode 7 is here's one problem I had with it.
Baby Yoda wasn't in it?
Finn. I had one issue with Finn. Like, basically, he had one line the whole movie, and it was, "Where's Ray?" It's the whole movie. Watch it.
He
the whole
did it
movie.
well, man.
All right. So
Got
the
paid a
answer
lot of
is
money.
he lacked patience. So we got
Do you lack patience?
Blake Gilson,
Yes.
Jenny Lee, and Kaylee Ann.
What's Kaylee Ann's
Haley
last
Shotgun.
name?
Tiffany Moen. Tiffany is not a super huge fan of Star Wars, and she's
But
up
she's
14
high,
places.
she's the highest climber.
So, all right. So for the final question, what is the famous weapon used by Jedi Knights in the Star Wars series? So what is the famous
This is a
weapon?
double points
used-
question.
This one's a double points. Is it laser sword? Is it
That's how you
blaster
spell
rifle?
that, if you're wondering.
Or lightsaber. So choose your answer now. Light sword, blaster rifle, or light. I don't know why everybody's laughing all of a sudden. I mean, these
Yeah,
were serious.
that's a legitimate name.
Yeah.
And that's how you spell
know.
it, with that many O's.
Yeah.
Exactly that many O's. And I didn't know, but Google Images seems to think that that's the symbol for Jedis. I don't know if it is or not.
I'm pretty
Could
sure
be.
it is. You should get that tattooed on your big toe.
I'm just my big toe?
Yep.
That would hurt.
Yep. Can we have a vote in the room? All in favor of Zach getting this tattooed on his big toe? Raise your hand.
I don't even
This
care
symbol
for
right
the
here.
movies,
oh,
you guys.
That is.
Woo woo, yes. Okay, all right.
All right, we got
Forehead.
8. I love how people just automatically. Woo, woo, woo.
Is that because they knew they were going to
Craig
lose?
answers lightsaber. Wait, before you go, don't click it yet. Let's see. Who do you think? Who do you think won?
Blake.
You think Blake won?
I'm rooting for you, Jilson.
Blake Gilson?
Yeah.
Kaylee Ann shot up there. I
Yeah.
think Kaylee Ann might have snuck. into
Tiffany
the top.
Moen.
Tiffany Moen.
You got it.
All right, let's see it. And the winners are Blake Gilson,
Yes!
Jenny Lee, and Kaylee Ann. So
Okay.
congratulations. Kaylee Ann, you won the stickers.
Stickers.
So what we knew, Kaylee Ann, if you can go on the chat and type in your first and last name so we know to get that.
Yeah.
And then second place, we have Jenny Lee. So Jenny Lee, you get the mess
The
kit.
mess kit.
And
5 pieces.
the 5-piece. It's
got
and
a
then Blake
lid.
Gilson. Blake, you the man. You have won the destruct-free proof phone case and 2 inflatables.
Yes. Blake, we're going
So-
sledding.
Congratulations. We love it.
Count on it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to move into part 1 of our message tonight.
Yes.
Paul's going to be sharing a story. I hope you guys are stoked. I'm stoked. I'm excited. I'm going to pray, and then we'll head over to that. So,
Sweet.
yeah. Let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you so much. God, I'm thankful that things are starting to open up, that we are able to slowly meet back in person. I cherish human connection, and I've missed that, God. But you have done, I believe that you've done some amazing things through this time, even though it's been really hard. God, you are amazing, and you sit on your throne. God, you're in charge. You have everything in control. God, tonight I pray for the message. I pray for Paul as he's sharing his heart, sharing his story, sharing the things that you have done in his life. God, I pray that you just bless him. I pray that those watching tonight learn more about who you are through Paul's story, are challenged, God, to grow closer to you, are comforted, they have peace. God, I thank you for everything that you have done. We lift this up and we pray this in your name. Amen. All right, so we're going to hand it off to Gabe and Paul.
All right, well, welcome back. Hey, we are continuing our sermon series called Overcomer. And if you are a follower of Jesus, you are an overcomer. And the premise of this series has been to talk about the stories that we have that allow us to overcome sin, temptation, Satan, and really in death. And so in Revelation 12:11, there's this picture that's played out. There's this story that's being told by John, who's on the island of Patmos, and he's looking ahead in the future, and he's seeing these future events take place, events that obviously will happen or after us, and he's seeing that Satan is thrown out of heaven one final time, and he's upset, and he comes after the believers. He comes after the followers of Jesus, which are obviously his enemies, so he's going to go after them. And it says this in Revelation 12:11, and they overcame him, the followers of Jesus, believers, they overcame him, Satan, by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And again, just to highlight the two parts of that verse that are so amazing to me, of going, the blood of the Lamb, Jesus Christ, what he did for us on the cross. We call this the gospel, right? The good news of we were sinners separated from God, but because of Jesus Christ and his substitutionary death on the cross, we can now be reconciled and in right relationship with God. That's the blood of the Lamb. But it also goes on to say how we overcome is by the word of our testimony, what God has done for us, the story that he's given us. There's power in your story. If you are a follower of Jesus, we say this every week, your story is personal and your story is powerful, and it's to be shared and it's to be given away to the people around you. There are people in your life that need to hear your story. And you might think that you don't have an incredible, crazy story of going off into the world and all these crazy things happening to you. That does not mean that your story is not powerful. That means that you have a different story than some other people. But nonetheless, your story is how God saved you, who you were, how you came to know Christ, and what he's done for you what he's done in you since giving your life to him. And so we've been sharing these stories. I shared with you my story in week 1, then we talked with Wes, then we talked with Keith Strasburger a couple weeks ago, Sherry Miles last week. And today, we have my buddy Paul Ward sitting here. Now, some of you guys remember Paul he came a couple months ago and shared a story at Young Adults. I asked him to come back and share it again, as it's been a couple months, online audience, and there's so much to Paul's story that I think it would be good for us to dive into tonight. So we're obviously not going to get to every detail of the story, but Paul's going to be able to share some things about who you were before Jesus, how you met Jesus, and kind of what he's done in your life, which has been a few things, right?
A couple, yeah.
Just a couple things since then. So, as always, be ready to type in questions that you have directly for Paul. What we're talking about tonight, any questions that you have, we would love to give some responses to at the end of the message. So, be ready to be engaged. Paul, let's talk about your story, man. So,
thanks for having me, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm honored that you would come back again and share your story. And you and I have been able to have several conversations, and I love hearing about your story, about where you were, who you were. And I don't want to ruin too much of the story, but I'm just like, before knowing Jesus, I think that's so amazing. But what I love most about your story is what God's done in you since knowing Jesus.
Yep.
And I think that's where the power comes from, right? Is going not, okay, I jacked all this stuff up and I messed all this stuff up. It's really going, hey, I knew Jesus right here, and since then, this is what he's done in my life.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to hearing that. That'll come in part 2 of your story. But for part 1, why don't you just take us back and tell us who you were, what you were doing, what you were up to, and kind of what your life was like before Jesus.
Yeah. So I'll try to give you the 2-bit story to the $1 million, the $1 million story, right?
Yep.
So for those who don't know me, my name is Paul Ward. Before I became a Christian, I was kind of known as a militant atheist. I was the guy that you would see in places, workplaces and public forums, trying to militantly combat Christians and debate and do all these kinds of things, and basically try to dismantle the idea of faith or the idea of specifically Christianity. I had a friend tell me, he was like, well, you seemed always hopeful, but he said, but you were uniquely anti-Christian. So even if you were an agnostic, you were a very anti-Christian person, which was obviously, and then becoming a Christian, that's what was so profound, is that out of all of the religions, that was the one I was the most bent against. So
Interesting, yeah.
a little bit about myself. I grew up in Western Washington. My folks, they came out of a pretty, actually, frankly, a very scary religious situation. They were in a very cultish religious backgrounds, and that's how they found each other, was because they both kind of came out of these scary cultish organizations, and they found each other and found solace with one another, and so their idea of religion was just bad. Everything was bad. Anything that had to do with that, it was a cult, regardless of what denomination,
Yeah.
And so I wasn't raised in a Christian home. That wasn't something. I never heard the word of God. We never went to church, anything like that. And so that was kind of my upbringing. Where I grew up in Washington specifically was kind of there was a lot of animosity against churches, local churches in the area, and so growing up in that environment. I mean, I remember going to school, and I had a science teacher. I remember him telling me, like day 2 of a biology class, he said, "God's not real." What was it? Something. God's not real. Enough said. Moving on. And I remember just those little seeds getting planted. Like, okay, God's not real. God's not real. And you looked around, and we see evil in the world every day, so on and so forth, right? So I logically came to this conclusion that I thought the most logical conclusion was that God wasn't real. I grew up in a home that me and my dad, I love my dad. Me and my dad, we get along very well now. But growing up, there was a lot of dysfunction, a lot of fighting, we just didn't see eye to eye, and it wound up leading to me moving out at like 16 years old. So I was kind of on my own from a pretty young age, and I fell into the typical life of somebody who didn't think that a God was watching, and in a broken world, and you start falling into sinful lifestyles, and you got a big gaping hole in your heart, and you fill it with something, and for a person like myself who didn't know Jesus, that was sin. And it was through substance abuse and broken relationships and things like that. And so I did a pretty good job of making a pretty nasty mess of my life. I wound up joining the military when I was very young. I remember I went back to my dad's house for one reason alone. I wanted to get permission to go join the military. So I did, and joined the military at a young age, and I wasn't ready for that. It was basically on top of where I was at in my life. It was, now I just have the finances to afford all the sin that I couldn't afford before, right? And no oversight. It was just me in my lonesome doing as I thought best. The ways in my eyes, right? The way it was right in my own eyes. So.
Right. And you have the freedom now to do it.
And the freedom and the finances.
Freedom and the finances.
Freedom and the finances. The two worst possible things that would, for myself at that season of my life. So, I just spun out. Substance abuse got out of hand, and the broken relationships got out of hand, and everything from, I won't go into all the details, but everything from arrests and extreme substance abuse, and I had my first daughter, Crosby, in this time frame
with a woman, and we wound up splitting up, and she left, and so fast forward in time, I found myself in the season of life where I was stationed in Central Valley, California at the time, and my ex-wife, she was my ex-wife, she left me with my daughter, and I was there, left in the Central Valley, California, alone in a place I just transferred to, and no offense, I didn't like. I thought it was an ugly place, and it's not coastal California like everybody thinks of palm trees and sandy beaches. It was a desert, and it was really hard on me. And between that and the alcoholism, and just I expressed this before and to you, I was at a very suicidal place in my life. I was at this place where God, as far as I was concerned, wasn't real. I didn't want to keep on living. I'd used this slogan over and over and over again in my life that I wish I was never born. And of course that wasn't the case. I just wanted things to get better, but because I perceived there was no hope, it just got worse and worse, and that led me to a hopeless state of basically suicide. God, in a natural sense, gave me a little grace, and that was my now wife. We met in 2012, and she was the thing that while we didn't do things right. She wasn't a believer at the time, and we moved very quickly, and she wound up moving in, but she converted. She became a Christian at the time. And she would start ministering to me, and she was trying to get my drinking under control and things like that. And so kind of fast forward down the road, she wound up asking me. I remember one time she came in and she goes, hey, she came in all timid and scared because she had just given her life to the Lord. She said, hey, would you ever think about maybe going to church with me? And I exploded on her in the most, just I was being gnarly. And I said, don't ever ask me that in your entire lifetime ever again. I'll never step foot in a church with you. And she was like, okay, I'm sorry.
Wow.
Right? And so, but I had a friend at the time. It was kind of a serendipitous event where I was kicked out of the work center for being drunk all the time and lazy. I was working in the Navy. It's a place where we worked on engines, right? And I was coming in drunk. I was coming in late, and so they kicked me out of the shop I was in, and they kicked another gentleman out of a shop for being honest. He was a Christian guy, and he was doing everything. He had integrity, and he was doing things honestly. And so, out of reprisal, they kicked him out of his work center. They sent us to a shop together where he would manage me, and it was the worst shop. It was a tire shop. Nobody wanted to work in the tire shop. So he became my supervisor, and that basically gave us the liberty to talk about the Lord for like 8 to 10 hours a day. And so all of my hostile, militant arguments, all of my, just berating him with all these questions about God and how could God do this if, haven't you read the Old Testament, and, all these kinds of arguments and all these hard verses, and I'd throw these curveballs, and he always showed me grace. And that was such a huge confliction from some of the other experiences I had with people who were professing to be Christian.
Right.
And he was the exception. He was unassuming, he was non-judgmental, and he was always so kind. He let me over for dinner all the time, and him and his wife ministered to my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, and I. And through just showing us love, he basically opened the Word to us, and he opened his home to us, and he opened his heart to us, and through some very divine supernatural events, and just God waking me up, I realized God was there, and I remember crying out to God in his living room. Well, actually, it was in his bathroom. I was too nervous and probably too proud to pray in front of him. So I went into a bathroom and cried out to God, and I just said, God, I'm lost, and I know you're real. I can't argue with that anymore. You've shown me you're real, and I don't know what to do, and I'm out of control, and I need your help.
So, Paul, before you dive too much into that part of your story, I want to go back just a couple minutes. You were in this area with this guy for 8 to 10 hours a day, and you were throwing all these hard curveball questions at him, these challenging verses from Scripture. So you, and I know your story, and you've shared this with me, you had this skewed idea of who God was.
That's right.
What was that? What was your skewed idea of who God was, and what was your idea of what Christianity was all about?
Sure. So, very briefly, both my grandparents, both my parents' parents, they disowned us when I was 11, 12 years old. Ironically, they both disowned us, and they didn't really know each other or correspond to each other.
Yeah.
And they were both on different spectrums of what is called Christianity. They were of a cultish sect, but they were still calling themselves a Christian religion. And they both disowned us for not being Christian. And so that was my first exposure. I was embittered. I was hurt, that these people are supposed to love me. That was my exposure to Christianity.
Yeah.
And I mistakenly, you ever heard that saying, you throw the baby out with the bathwater?
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I saw through their behavior and through their demonstration of what they called a godly life, I just assumed that's who this God was. And then you compile that with some hard verses in certain places in Scripture, and then just the general demographic in our culture that just openly demonizes most of Christianity, or maybe not demonizes, but just makes a mockery of it.
Sure.
Like I grew up, remember the show The Simpsons?
Yep.
Remember Flanders, the next door neighbor? He's the nerdy Christian guy who, his life's a mess, but he's still trying to be hopelessly nice to people. You know what I mean? And anyway, so it just all these things, and then Satan had his nasty way, and it tried mixing it in the cauldron of my mind. And guess what happens? You come out with this just skewed idea of who God is, and this. When I thought of Christianity, it was always about a works-based religion or a thing you got to do harder, try harder, be something, reform yourself, get your stuff together, and all those kinds of ideas. And when I met the God of the universe, he was nothing like that. And that's where it all started. That's what changed my life.
So you dealt a lot with legalism, right?
I did, yeah.
Like a lot of I have to earn God's approval. I have to earn his love. I have to do enough to be accepted by him. I have to earn the salvation that he supposedly gives.
Yeah.
So it's all based on you and your hard work and your efforts and you pursuing this relationship with God in order to make this thing happen, right?
That's right.
And I think there's a lot of people that are watching right now that might not to that level deal with that, but I think there's a lot of people that are watching right now that are going, I can't fully buy into this unconditional love of this God, right?
Right.
Like it's kind of a hard reality to comprehend.
I mean, I'll kind of talk on this a little bit, but it's something even to this day. I've been walking with the Lord now for close to 9 years.
Yeah.
And God never changed. He is who he is.
Yeah.
However, I day by day have to grow closer to this idea of who God is, and my head fully assents to who God is. It's my heart that's a little harder convinced. And God is who he always was, but this idea with the human nature and trying to calculate this, try to understand who God, the nature of God is, this God who unconditionally loves his children. It's a crazy love, as Francis Chan said.
It totally is. And so what you're not saying, Paul, is you're not saying when you talk about legalism versus grace, what you're not saying is you're not going, hey, don't worry about the rules, don't worry about the law, don't worry about the things that God says in his word. We don't need to follow those. Just be a good person. Like it's not
like Paul said, by no means, right? We're not talking about abusing grace. We're talking about a love that has full acknowledgement of what you've done, calls evil, does not condone sin, but will still forgive if one would repent and merely just turn to God, and repent with a true heart that is broken for that sin.
Yeah. So now it's not about I have to do these things to earn salvation.
Right.
It's because God's freely given me salvation by grace through faith.
Yep.
Now I will do these things because of my love for him.
That's it.
Yeah. So we're going to come back. We're going to hear the second part of Paul's story here in a little bit and talking more about kind of your conversion experience and then what God's done in your life in the last 9 years to get you to the place where you're here sharing your story on Young Adult Life. So we'll come back and we'll talk more about that. We're going to kick it over to Zach and Steven and Sarah and Luke and Nicole and Cassidy and just some people. We're over here. Go watch these guys.
Hey, we're the people over here. We're going to play a game. I'm super excited to hear part 2 of Paul's testimony, but we're going to play a game. We're going to have some fun. So if you guys want to introduce yourself. You have a mic.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm Sarah.
This is Sarah Byrne.
Steven.
Okay, cool. They're new to playing games, so they've never played games before in their whole life.
Not once.
So this is the first time. So give them some grace, you guys. All right, so we're going to play Pictionary. If you don't know what Pictionary is, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to give Steven a prompt, and he has 30 seconds to draw it without using words. No words. And you have to guess what it is. And if you can get it in 30 seconds, you get a point. Do you want to be red or do you want to be black?
Let's go for red. Let's do
Red.
it.
They want to be team red. All right, here we go. You ready? All right. You got 30 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
A pot. Hot bread. Toast.
Yes. Good job. Well done. It only took them 12 seconds. For your first game ever, that was pretty good.
Nice job, Steven.
All right. Next team. Here, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, their names will be on the screen also.
I'm Cassidy.
That's Cassidy.
I'm Nicole.
That's Nicole. Good job introducing yourselves, you guys.
I'm novice.
That was great. All right. Same rules. Same game. Different team. You ready?
But we're pros.
Red team gets a point. Oh my goodness. We almost forgot. 1 point for red team. Okay, here we go. Here is your prompt.
Also, hi, Mom.
You ready? What? Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
I'm counting on you.
You got this.
Sunshine. Mountains. Nicole, what is that? It's something around the sun. 100 something days around the sun. 140 days around the sun. Around the world. 140 days.
2,
Fun.
1.
I don't know.
Oh, so close. It was 40 days and 40 nights. Nice try. Good effort, you guys.
I'm creative. Game.
That was great. Okay, no points this time. Next team, Sarah and Steven.
Like 40
thank
days
you.
and 40 nights.
That's pretty good, I thought. For the prompt, that was pretty good. That was great. Okay, next one. Ready? See if I'm ready. Okay, here's your prompt. All right,
Okay,
here we go. 30 seconds. See if they can do it. 3, 2, 1, go.
Triangle.
Yes! Good job! Man,
We are killing it.
you guys are so good at this game. Oh my goodness. You guys, if I'm not mistaken, have played games before, right? What?
It's fine. It's fine.
Come on.
I'm fine.
I don't want to hear any complaining.
This game is rigged.
We
All
got
right.
this. We can handle.
It's not rigged. It's not. Okay, here we go. Here is your prompt. Oh, shoot. I almost forgot about the points again. What kind of host am I? Oh, yeah. That's
Okay.
true. We need more
I'm
colors.
ready.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, waves, water, beach. Oh, huh? Oh, surfing?
No, come on.
No, come on. No, give me more.
I don't know what else to give you.
Oh, the red. Wait, what? The part the sea. What is it, Moses?
I don't know what else to draw.
You're close.
The red part, the Red Sea.
Yes. Oh my gosh, with 2 seconds to spare. That was
I almost called it the Dead Sea.
we needed a red
Like,
marker.
no.
All right, here, next team. This is the third and final round. So if you get this point, you can ice it. Oh, there we go. All right, here we go. Round 3. Here is your prompt. All right, you ready? Oh, wait, I'm not ready. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
A light bulb. Potato. Bread. Bread. Potato Head. Mr. Potato Head.
Oh my gosh, how did you get that? Oh my gosh,
I swear we were not cheating. Like.
that was incredible. All right. That was so good, you guys. I'm going to remember the point this time. It is 3-1. We are gonna make this a. Oh, let's see what the prompt is first.
Still mad about the first one.
Okay. All right. Hey, this one you can't win at this point, but double points just means a tie, and we don't allow ties here. Fight to the death.
I can do that.
We're not gonna fight to the death on live TV. Okay. Here is your prompt. All right, here we go. 3. Wait. Oh, this is not my watch. 3, 2, 1, go. Nice. One of them is sad. One of them is indifferent.
Looks like Siamese twins. Is it a mountain?
7 seconds.
Mount Rushmore.
Oh, yes. Look at this. One of them's happy. One of them's sad. One of them is indifferent.
One of them has
And
a
one of
French
them-
mustache.
I'm not sure what that one is. But
That one's French.
That was great, you guys. Good job. Team 1 is the winner, however. So you guys, for never playing a game before, that was incredible. You guys are naturals. All right, we're going to go back to Gabe and Paul for the second part of the message.
All right. Well, we're back. Paul, we kind of left off. You shared some of your history. You said you were a militant atheist. You were adamantly opposed to Christianity to the point where when your wife gave her life to the Lord and asked you to go to church, you came unglued and was like, "Don't ever ask me to do that again. I will never step foot in a church."
Right.
You had a skewed idea of who God was. You thought in order to be a Christian, there was this legalism that went with this. You thought that this God was evil. You thought that he was just out to get you. So you had some skewed ideas of Christianity, of religion, of God.
Yeah.
You were placed in this working situation with a Christian,
Yep.
who for 8 to 10 hours a day, you guys talked God.
We talked God all day long. It got ugly, and I remember the words he told me. He said, no, I told him. I said, buddy, I don't know how to tell you this. Like, I appreciate the fact that, you got your faith, and that's cool. This is prior conversion,
Yep.
right? And I said, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I was so winded. I had
Right.
given him everything, and he still just belligerently hung to his faith. And
Yeah.
it just frustrated me. Like, let go of this fable. I will ruin this in you. I've been able to dismantle this in other people. I will do this in you. Meanwhile, my life's a mess, and his,
Right.
he's just such a wonderful guy. But anyway,
Well, and this is part of the kind of the second half of this story, right? So he invited you over to his house. Which you guys would regularly go to his house for dinner, and right. And what you've told me in the past is that you've just noticed like how his kids and his wife loved him, and they had this loving environment. Tell us about kind of your relationship with him, and then post conversion.
Well, he's Cuban. His wife is Mexican, and they're a hilarious couple together because he likes his Cuban food, she likes her Mexican food. So she'll do this like pseudo Cuban Mexican food,
Yep.
and then we come in and just get to eat all the food they cook, right? And so it was just a win-win-win. So they would lovingly let us in and invite us in, and we would sit there and talk about God, but we would eat over these wonderful meals they would make for us. And I remember at this time my ex-wife had left me. She had taken my daughter. I'm now dating this new girl. We're now living together, right? And I'm an alcoholic, and I mean a real alcoholic, drinking an alarming amount of alcohol nightly, 7 days a week. I walk through his door. He has no substance abuse issues. He's not falling apart. He's got his stuff together. His wife approaches him and kisses him on his face, and his kids come cooking it down the staircase, and he has like 1 million kids anyways. So they all at the time he had 4 kids, and they're all jumping all over him and pawing at him, and they just love their dad. In the home, you could just feel, the cheesy cliches.
Sure.
But there's love in that home.
Yeah.
And it's like, I hate his religion, but I mean, look at this man's life. This is what I want. This is what I want. But I remember back to when we were in the shop, what he told me. I told him, I said, I'll make you a deal. Let's go on a journey together. I said, I don't care if God's a giant pink rhinoceros in the sky. If that's the case, if he's worthy of my worship, I will give my whole life to this God. And he goes, okay, let's go on a journey. And I was like, you're saying that out of pretense. You know, don't act like you know how this is going to end, but of course. And he just began introducing me to his God. And when I converted that night, I told you I'd give my life to the Lord. When just one night they were praying, and for those who don't know, I almost died in a car accident when I was young. And it was a very near-death experience for me. It was a very supernatural, very scary feeling. It was a very unpeaceful, very painful experience. And one night I began to feel that later on. This is after the accident, years later. And I remember that same feeling of just impending doom and fear, and just overcame me. And that's when I gave my life to the Lord. I knew God was. I didn't know what to do in that circumstance, and I cried out to God, and he saved me. Well, that's where it began. Right? I always joke around and say, okay, and everything got fixed there, and everything's been awesome since, and that's it. But of course, it's not the case.
Right.
God had a lot of unwiring and rewiring to do.
Yeah.
During those next few months after having become a Christian, I started reading. First thing I did is I went to the military exchange in the Navy. We call it a NEX. I went to the NEX. And I picked up a little King James Bible. You know, I wasn't emotionally committed to getting the big Bible.
Right.
You know, I just wanted the 3x3 or whatever, the little guy. I began reading it, and it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to get through Scripture, and you start seeing things that you heard, or little coinages or verses you've seen in places. And I began to get angry. Because there's a lot of things Jesus would say that I saw a lot of the people who were going to church wouldn't practice, or the people who disown me, right? There was verses, I remember one of the first verses I ever read was, a man who doesn't take care of his family is worse than an unbeliever, right? Or he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. I was like, I don't understand. How could you deny, why weren't you there to minister to me? And I began to become angry. And it kind of, it invoked a lot of these things that were buried deep down. And I read other things where it talked about, marriage between a man and a woman, and that, my girlfriend at the time was living, she was doing all the work as a wife, she was doing all these things as a wife, but she wasn't getting the honorary title of my wife. She was basically just my girlfriend, right? And I remember becoming very convicted and realizing I needed to marry this woman if she can't be living at my house anymore. So she became a Christian, and she was living at my house. When I became a Christian, I kicked her out of the house and sent her packing to the barracks and kicked her out of the house. I was joking. I was pick on her for that. But, we realized that was the right thing to do, and that was where our heart was at. And I spent that 6 months when she moved out on my knees, praying all day, drawing close to God, seeking God every day, reading the Word, reading the Bible from cover to cover, figuring out who this new God was. And I remember the words, and it sounds so silly because there's so many Christians that have read this since they were, 6 years old or whatever, going to Sunday school. This just wasn't my story. And it was God is love. 1 John 4:8, God is love. Any man who does not love does not know God, for God is love. And I was like, it even kind of chokes me up now thinking about it, because just hearing this idea that this God who I thought was this psychopathic tyrant in the sky. Most atheists, if you have an atheist friend, it's not that they're actually convinced of their atheism. It's that they're anti-theist.
Right.
They don't like the notion of who you're presenting God to be.
Right.
And I remember using very provocative language, saying, is this your God? And I would say something from the Old Testament. They're like, yeah, he did that. And I was like, well, then I'll take the stairs to hell. And I know that's makes your toes curl, but it's, I was so angry and I was so angry with who I thought God was. And then God shows up and he's like, that's not who I am. And then, like I said, the image slowly began to change. But I still needed a lot of changing too. And even now we talked a little bit earlier about, my head is so convinced of who God is and what grace is and how that all works. And then I find myself practicing things that demonstrate to my own self that I'm not fully convinced in my heart of who God is.
Yeah.
He's stationary. He's eternal. He's always been what he is. It's just we believers, we need a lot of reminding sometimes.
So when you started your mind started shifting about who God was, of this tyrant in the sky to this God that is love.
Right.
What did that start to do to you? Like, how did that start to change you as a person? Not just your view of God, but your view of yourself, your view of other people, your view of this world. Like, how did that start to shift your way of living? So when I was reading the scripture, it became apparent to me that I was reading it through the wrong lens, right?
And so I saw God doing everything he had ever done through the lens of his nature, which is love. And obviously that's the biggest game changer of all, when you find out that the motive that drove God to bring the children out of Egypt and into the wilderness, love. Just we can go through the Bible stories, but everything that ever drove God to do anything he's ever done was out of love for the world, to send his son. I'm not, there's a place for wrath and there's a place for all these other things, but overall that doesn't negate the fact of who God is at his core, which is love. It began changing me. So there's this idea, and I don't want to go too far extreme in this, but it says to love God with all your heart, to love God with all your heart, mind, body, soul, and strength. To love your neighbor as yourself. I had no love for myself. In fact, I was a hypercritical person, and I can, even if I'm not careful, it's something I have to die to myself daily. I can be very hypercritical. I hold myself to an unreasonably high standard, and subsequently I hold a lot of other people to a very high standard as well. And that hypercriticism, it's not godly, because God is already, he constantly has to remind you, you don't have to work so hard. There's a beautiful song, I don't remember who sings it right off, but he goes, you don't have to work so hard. I already love you, right? You don't have to work so hard. You're already mine. You don't have to hide your heart. I hold it in mine, right? It's a beautiful, beautiful song. And basically what I told you earlier, and this is kind of the overarching theme of what I kind of wanted to communicate tonight, is I struggle even to this day, and I'm by God's grace, I'm getting through this, but to just learn to just embrace and accept you're accepted by God. And why that is, it's such a rudimentary principle of Christianity, but it's a hard one. And it's one that I think, some maybe struggle a little bit harder. I was talking with somebody and they were talking about the relationship you have with your earthly father might be able to kind of chaperone you into a relationship with God. But if you don't have that, if you're like me and you didn't have that paternal relationship in a very strong way that, maybe other people did, what do you do then? Well, then God takes you through that journey of getting you to that place where he chaperones you into a place where you can accept you are accepted by him.
That's so good. Accept that you are accepted by him. And Paul, I've talked to a lot of people in the last couple weeks that have really wrestled with this idea of being fully accepted by God right where they're at, in their sin, in their faults, in their failures, and everything. God accepts you. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not saying God's okay with the muck that you've created and the sin that you're sitting in and the crap that you're dealing with. God's not okay with that.
Right.
But he loves you so much that he will accept you right where you are, but he loves you so much that he won't let you stay there, right? And he's going to continue to do a work in you. So as you're talking about your high standard for yourself and for others and your hypercriticalness, how is God removing that from you? What's God doing in your life to kind of remove that mentality of going, Paul, you don't have to work so hard. Right. You don't have to strive so hard. Like, how is God removing those things from you and shaping you to just go, God, I trust in you. I rely on you. I am enough in your eyes.
Yeah. So, no, that's really good. That's a really good way to approach it, that questioning. So what I do is I question myself in that same way. And I said, so what I find myself, what I stumble in is if I start seeing a critical spirit in myself, if I start realizing, and it doesn't take long for me to start analyzing, you're being really critical, right? I have to go back to the foundation. I stop looking at the fruit of the tree and I go immediately back to the root. What's going on here that makes me so critical?
That's really good.
And more often than not, Scripture is explicitly clear. What is God's goal with a believer when he adopts a child or a child into the family of God, and they are born again people? His goal is to now conform those people into the likeness of Christ. That's his end goal for your life, is to make you more like his son.
Totally. Yep.
But that's his job in the heavenlies.
Yep.
In the meantime, the irony is that all that work implied, the irony is just your responsibility in all of this is to live in a constant state of acceptance of that, in these truths that we see explicitly stated in Scripture.
That's super good.
Of course, that's a challenge in a world where you're being attacked from the inside sin nature that still indwells us, right? That still is in the flesh, the world and all of their shenanigans, and then the devil and doing what he does. 24 hours a day.
Right.
It's a battle.
Lying
it's a battle.
to you.
Lying, and the lies are. you know, like you mentioned, how did it change my life? Well, when I started realizing that God loved me and had higher calling for me, the first thing that had to go was the substance abuse. And it's so funny because I don't want to say that in every case God will immediately take something away from you. And a lot of times he does. And in my case, what had happened was when I gave my life to the Lord, I had an actual chemical dependency on alcohol. I remember my wife, she thought I had officially, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I had lost my mind. She came in, I was taking all of my rum and I was dumping like the fifth of, 750 milliliter bottle down the sink. And she's like, that's it. He's crazy. She's a little Puerto Rican gal, and she's like throwing her hands like, he's crazy. I got because she just couldn't understand. Yesterday I was, needing this thing and this, and that. So let me kind of rewind a little bit. So back to the how God is changing me. So like I said, I address the fruit.
Yep. You address the
or
root.
I see the fruit.
Yep.
I address the root.
Right.
And then I start asking the questions to God. I go before God and I say, what am I forgetting? Because it's more often than not, it's what you're forgetting. It's if you're been a believer for a substantial amount of time, or maybe you're ignorant of the scriptures, and not in a mean way. Maybe you just need to get back in the Word and start, figuring out what this God has written to you and wants you to know about Him and or your standing with Him because of His finished work. And it's always that chink in the armor. It's always that chink in the foundation that's always creating a problem later. So.
Yeah, that's really good. If you guys have questions for Paul that you want answered or want responses to, we're gonna give some responses to those here in a little bit. But Paul, I love what you said, man. The addressing the root, right? You see the fruit, but you address the root.
Right.
And we talk a lot about that in our ministry, in School of Ministry. We talk about we dress the root before the fruit. And the fruit is so easy to see, right? You see either this really good fruit in your life or you see this really nasty fruit. And instead of going, okay, I have this nasty fruit, I need to do something to the fruit, you can't fix the fruit once it's there. You have to go down and you have to develop the root system, right?
Yeah, you want to die of exhaustion to spend your whole day trying to trim fruit off of a rotten tree.
Right.
And the tragedy is I see a lot of people live for years in this exhausted state of trying to reform themselves and be better by just cutting bad fruit off all day.
So whether it's anxiety or it's depression or it's bitterness or it's a habit that you have, it's not all about just going, okay, I need this out of my life. It's about going deeper below the surface and saying, I got to address this so that the fruit won't be nasty and rotten and disgusting. And I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago. Here's the prayer that I've been praying every single morning, and it's a psalm. And I'm blanking, 39:24, I believe, and it says this. Search me and know my heart, O God, and test me and know my anxious thoughts, and see if there's any wicked way in me, and lead me in the path in the way everlasting. Every morning I've been praying that, and just going, God, what's in my heart that you don't want there? That's keeping me from this relationship with you. See if there's any anxious way in me, and if there's anything in me that's offensive to you. And I'm asking God, I'm saying, man, God, bring to my mind these things that I need to address and deal with and give over to you. Because what I'm trying to do is not just go, I got this crappy stuff in my life. I'm trying to go, Lord, you know what's deep inside here, and I want you to address that. So I love that, Paul. I think that's super good. We're going to go back. We're going to go over to Wes and Zach for a second here. They have a raffle winner. We're going to come back and we're going to give some responses to your questions that you have. So make sure you chat those in. And then we'll do our best to respond. And we'll give Paul a chance to wrap up for the night. So we'll send it back over to Wes and Zach.
All right.
Hey.
Good stuff. I know we say it every week, but that's good stuff.
Oh.
There was a comment I just want to point out. Sandra Norton said, I saw God, just quoting Paul, I saw God through the nature of his lens, which is love. Love the beauty of that statement. Like, just reading that, it's so good.
I'm going to have to go back and listen to this a couple more times.
Yeah.
Just to wrap my head around all the things that he's saying.
Good stuff.
Super
good.
good.
Well, just to recap with us. So Cameron Alexander won. Yeah.
Yes.
He's got the two-person set. In third place on Kahoot, we had Kaylee Ann, who turns out has only seen one Star Wars movie, and she got third place.
How did you do that? You get some stickers, though. Yep. So congratulations.
And then Jenny Lee got second.
Jenny Lee wins again.
Wins again. She won the first week and the last week. Look at that. She got a prize first week and last week.
Wow.
And then congratulations, Blake, when winning the inflatables and the
a new
case.
friend to go sledding with.
There's, what is that, 5 weeks now?
Unless you pop them this summer, please don't.
6 weeks?
Okay.
We'll round it off at 6 weeks. 6 more weeks added to that. Well,
I don't need you anymore. I got Blake.
do we have I think we have a winner for
Yes, we do.
we
We
do.
do.
All right.
We've
So
just received
tonight's winner
word
gets to take
that
home
we have a winner.
Togo, the teddy bear vine. What was that?
That was the
Was that
messenger tree,
the
apparently.
messenger tree,
Uh-huh.
a shrubbery.
The shrubbery. Bring me a shrubbery.
A shrubbery.
A very nice one, but not too expensive.
Neat.
Okay.
We are no longer the knights who say neat. All right, who
Hey,
won?
can I announce the
Who
winner
won?
now?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
announce the winner.
All
Sorry.
right, drum roll, please.
I'm so excited.
Bria McLeod.
Bree McLeod.
Good job.
Yes.
Woohoo! You just won.
Congratulations.
What did she win?
Bree, you won
Oh, Bree-
Togo.
Bree?
Yeah, Bree.
Oh Lord,
Bree,
I'm sorry.
Bree, you
It's
won
BREA.
Togo.
I don't.
Anyway, Bree, you won
sorry.
Togo, the teddy bear vine, and a $25 gift card to Cold Stone.
Yes, I hope you like ice
So,
cream.
For everyone that won tonight, congratulations. We will send out our carrier pigeons this week,
Yes.
Monday or Tuesday, to deliver those prizes. So,
They got to deliver a lot this week.
yeah, it's a good thing. Our
Those carrier
pigeons
pigeons
are-
better manage their schedule
Yeah.
so they can get all that done.
right. Thanks. One of those carrier pigeons better manage his schedule
Yeah.
so
One
we can
of
get
our
those
carrier
prizes.
pigeons has been really busy lately and
Busy
just got a little anxiety
procrastinating.
about how much we have to deliver. It's
Hey,
fine.
thanks so much for hanging out with Zach and I. It has been an awesome 7 weeks here on Young Adult Live. We've had a lot of fun.
Yes.
One of the sad points is not a single letter came in. There was one poem that came in for
Hey, we
Letters
don't-
with Wes.
Yeah.
We might continue that segment at Thursday nights. So forever.
Forever.
But-
From now until forever.
Thanks so much for hanging out with Zach and I for Young Adult Live, for playing games with us. It's
Yeah,
been great. We're
it's
going
been
to
a lot
hand
of
it
fun.
back to Gabe and Paul for the question and response.
Q&R.
Yeah, good time. So have a good night. See you later from us. Hand it back to Gabe and Paul.
All right, Bree McLeod, congratulations. You get a plant,
Togo.
a Togo plant. That is legit. Togo the teddy bear plant. Anyway, we're back with Paul. Paul, thanks for sharing your story with us, man.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, and I love hearing your story. I love being able to talk to you about what God's done in your life. It's super cool. We have some questions, Paul, that people have been sending in, and so we're going to give some responses to those questions. So let's just dive into this. It says, number one, looking back, how can you see God working in your life during the time you weren't a Christian?
So this is kind of a fun one, right? Because as a believer, I can look back and see that this God who was always there the whole time, even when I didn't bother looking up or even have the thought to even look up, right? There's so many different situations. My mom had said something that she had a dream that, she had a son, and this was before I was born, and I don't want to go too deep into dreams and such like that, but just that she had always felt like she was going to have a son who was going to essentially, from what I gathered, give his life to the Lord. When from an unbelieving person, that was very interesting, right? Anyways, that's not necessarily something. But then I look back at my car accident.
Yep.
These little things, these little stepping stones that led me to the point in which I finally surrendered to Christ. There was one woman, and here's kind of something for everybody to hear. There was one woman in my life who was a godly influence, just one. It was my best friend. When I moved out at 16, I lived with my buddy. Well, his grandmother was the only Christian I've ever met. She was the only one. And we were hellions, to say it nicely, right?
Yeah.
And she had to stomach us. I don't know how she did it, but she cooked, she was always kind, always graceful, and she'd have conversations with me. It was nothing too deep, but she was always just an influence there. And quite possibly just that wherever you guys are at as a believer, you potentially have that power, that ability to be a seed planter in a way that you would have no forethought into what God could use you to do, even in the smallest ways. So,
dude, that is so good. So all along your journey, as you look back, you see these little seeds that were planted in your life. So not these overwhelming moments of just like God just blowing the doors open, but like the grandma,
Right.
just little seeds, like little people that were in your life that represented Jesus to you. That all, yeah, that's super cool.
Right.
And I think that's what God does in a lot of the time. It's not the huge, like I think of the passage in of the story of Elijah in the
Right.
cave. Right, God was not in the wind. God was not in the earthquake. God is not in the fire. He's in the still small voice, right? And so in our lives, there's those still small voices, those little seeds that are being planted that all along the way God's going, hey, I'm here, I'm here, I'm
Right.
here. Yeah, that's good.
Isaiah, was it Isaiah 41:10?
The story.
No, just read that verse. That's a great one
Oh.
about that, right? It's just basically, so the verse, well, here, I don't want to botch it.
Yeah.
We'll read that one.
Isaiah
real quick, just-
41:10.
Yeah, sorry. I'm going to read that one. That one is
Get
just,
out your Bible or Bible
Get
app.
out your
Follow
Bibles.
along.
We're doing an ad-lib
We're gonna
Bible
go
study.
into Isaiah 41:10.
fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you, and I will uphold you by my righteous right hand. This isn't this grandiose tearing through the sky, and I am here. You know,
Right.
he's just always there
Yeah.
and upholding you with his righteous right hand.
good.
Sorry.
Number 2, what were the number 1 things that Christians did that turned you away from pursuing that relationship?
I'm gonna split this up into 2 pieces. So I want to preface this by saying I was a hypercritical person, which means there was nothing you could have done right. I would have been offended. Oh, look at those Christians, and the hypocrisy was it knew no bounds.
Right.
I was doing all the same things. I was just thinking I had the moral high ground because I didn't profess to have some moral,
Sure.
code that I was
Right.
following. Right. However, on the other side of the house, there was a reality where there was people who I went to school with, high school and other grades, that were they were professing to be Christians, or they were going to youth groups, or they were doing these things, but they were living in essentially what the Bible outlines as just flagrant sin.
Right.
They were sleeping with each other while they were with their boyfriends.
Right.
And even in one sad circumstance about like in the parking lot of our high school.
Jeez,
Like
man.
that's really provocative, right? That's
Mhm.
and for some and how much more insulting when the world comes after the church, right, and tells them basically to get their stuff together.
Right.
And so I would not overburden any believer with like making sure you have to be super prim and proper and cross all you have to be a human. That's one of the appeals of Christianity, is that you were lost, but now you're found, right? So I don't want to put an uneven or a big burden on people, but just be mindful, be mindful and self-aware, and we'll get to that.
Yep.
We'll get to that again.
Yep.
We'll
It's
go
good.
back. Yeah.
Paul, did your girlfriend, then wife, now help you grow more spiritually mature?
Yeah, so I just told Gabe off camera. I said if God's the sculptor and I'm the clay, then my wife is the chisel,
Yeah.
the very, very sharp chisel. So, no, actually, my wife, I am extraordinarily, unworthily blessed with this meek, humble little 4'11" Puerto Rican girl, because
Yeah.
she's just everything I'm not. And God has ensured that every time I open my mouth,
Yeah.
I have to put my foot in it immediately after, and it usually comes through her sound advice.
Yep.
And so I listen a lot better.
Yeah.
So I just was wrong enough times
Yep.
to where it hurt enough times to where now I listen first.
Yep.
What does it be? Slow to speak, slow to anger, quick to listen.
Yeah.
My wife has been the biggest aid.
Yep.
in all that,
Totally.
so.
I often say my wife and the Holy Spirit sound a lot alike. Yeah.
Touche.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't like it. Aubrey's like, Gabe. I'm like, yes, Lord. Oh, that's you, Aubrey. Never mind. And sometimes God's talking to me. I'm like, Aubrey, not now. And he's like, that's me. I'm like, dang it.
Yeah. Okay, being a saved militant atheist, how do you view Christian evangelism? So, this is not everybody's calling, right? It's not everybody is called to be a fierce, fiery evangelist that goes into the big forums of our, in the parlance of our time, and
Right.
stand before the Richard Dawkins of the world and have to do apologetics.
Right.
However, I do believe it is every Christian's responsibility to at least have an argument, or what does Peter say? Have a hope. Right?
Yeah.
You have to give an answer for the hope that is in
Yeah.
you. You don't have to know all the semantics, all the specifics, but it does. I mean, listen, if you feel a conviction for that, or if you feel kind of this fiery zeal, like you want to, my thing is maybe in part before it was also arrogance. I didn't ever want to be defeated in a debate.
Mm-hmm.
And then it converted into my zeal and love for God that
Sure.
kept me with that same fiery passion to want to know the arguments inside and out.
Yeah.
And the beauty is God then, of course, sanctified that, used it, and I
Yeah.
can go talk to atheists and use all their lines of logic against them.
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
helpful, right?
Yeah. So you're looking at, so evangelism isn't necessarily going door to door. It's not going and preaching from a soapbox.
Right.
It's living out your everyday life. And when God gives you the opportunities to talk about your faith, it's being prepared. That's what you're talking about. 1 Peter, right?
Right.
Is always be prepared to give a defense for the hope that lies within you,
Right.
but do it with gentleness and respect, right?
Right.
And so how we give that hope and how we portray Christ, yes, comes through our actions, but it also comes through those conversations that we have as we're sitting across the table at a coffee shop
Yeah,
or our
that's
next
great.
door neighbor or whatever it is. It's not necessarily banging down doors looking for it. It's going, God, provide me the opportunity to share my faith today.
90% of the time, you know what I found? I'm not saying that the time to street preach or whatever, I'm not saying that's not a thing. What I'm saying is that most of the circumstances I see are really organic conversations that hey, a guy dropped his wallet in the line to Starbucks.
Totally.
And you hand it to him and make crack and he laughs, and then you have this way to just share.
Yep.
Just share the gospel.
Totally.
So
Yep. Absolutely. Number 5, when your girlfriend then became a Christian, did you feel like the bond was unequally yoked at first until you became one? If so, how did you improve it? So I had a hard time reading that because it's small and my eyes are going bad, Paul, because I'm 35 now. But when,
geriatric.
I know.
35.
So when you guys were dating,
Yeah.
right? Was there some unequally yoked relationship going on there? What'd you do about that? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so not to be overly harsh, but she was very weak in her faith, right? And she was willing to compromise. She didn't fully understand enough yet, and I don't, she was still very weak in her faith. And I can be kind of a gnarly guy, right? I can be a little overbearing
Yeah.
and super abrasive,
Sure.
right? And so the answer is very simply, was it unequally yoked? And that's absolutely. We were totally unequally yoked. She became a believer, and while she was too, sounds harsh, I love my wife to death, but at the time she would say that she was being a coward. She wasn't standing up for her faith, and she was letting me just steamroll her and just following me, which I wasn't a leader at the time. I was a terrible spiritual leader, right? Because I wasn't one.
Right.
So yes, we were totally unevenly yoked, which is why it's not just a concession; it's a commandment for all believers. You are not permitted to be with somebody. You're not permitted to be with somebody. You cannot be unequally yoked.
Right.
It's just it's spiritual suicide.
Yeah.
It's foolish. However, and again, I want to caution people. I've actually heard people try to justify. They took my circumstance, then try to justify. No. I can be with this person because I know that if I just keep praying, I'll get them saved.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not a thing,
Yeah.
right? And so you
Right.
need to be biblically wise, and you need to seek out a godly. It's gnarly. In my house, there's no such thing as dating. There's courting, and you will marry that person. There's no dating. We don't date in the Ward house. That's not a thing. So, anyways, I don't want to go on and on. But the point is don't be unequally yoked. It breaks the future me. My heart is broken for having to see what my wife went through
Yeah.
being an unequally yoked Christian.
Right.
Her spiritual life, she lived in defeat.
Because it was causing separation between you guys, wasn't
Not
it?
just, she told me heartbreaking stories of where she said, even as a Christian, she was trying to drink up some of my alcohol so that I wouldn't drink as much of the alcohol. And she said that was like, she couldn't keep that up, right? Because how much alcohol can one drink to, she was
Right.
trying all these tricks instead of dealing with the issue.
Right.
And it was actually, ironically, the most fruitful thing she ever did is when she said she's basically leaving. And people say, well, that's the worst thing. No. That was the method by which God really used it to start getting me to look up. It's like, I'm going to lose her if I don't repent.
Wow.
And that was it. So while you might be fearful, that is the thing that is the most fruitful.
Yeah.
So
That's good. Last one. What are some tips and advice on fixing the root before the fruit?
some pragmatic advice to fix. So, okay, my biggest thing, and this is my biggest advice for any Christian of any age, is there are people who are naturally self-aware, very aware of themselves. Hypercritical people tend to be that way because they want to make sure that they're, everything shines like gold, everything that comes out of their mouth, right?
Sure.
And this, even if you do the assessment, it can be ego. Nevertheless, people with that personality type more often than not are always they tailor everything they say. And the reason why is because they're very self-aware.
Yeah.
I would advise any person who finds themselves kind of being spiritually blind, just kind of bumbling around and falling into these sins, and they're like, man, what's going on? Why do I keep falling into these same patterns of sin? Or why are these things reoccurring in my life? Be mindful, be thoughtful, be self-aware, and be honest with yourself. More often than not, especially in the very beginning phases of when I first became a believer, I would do these things or I'd practice these things and be like, oh, that's weird. I wonder why I did that. And then it would get to the point where it would unravel on me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, I can at the time I was still, I stopped drinking right away. Well, then later I was like, oh, well, I can still practice these things. It doesn't master me. And then I realized that those things would trickle down into sin. And I'd find myself, oh, I sinned again. Well, what happened? Well, if you were to be self-aware and be honest with yourself, you're going to start, it doesn't take long. You ask God, your Psalm, right? Psalm, what is 39? Find in me any unclean way. Anything, right? That's self-awareness. What David was saying is, I analyze my own heart daily. If there's something I'm blind to or I can't see, show it to me, point it out to me. But that also comes with an interest. You have to want to know what those things are in the heart that are
Totally.
clean. So.
Yeah, and I might be botching. I think it might be Psalm 139, one of the two. Just Google.
Some
search my heart,
theologians
oh
gonna
God,
like
you
have
know
our
me.
head after this.
Google tells you everything. And I'd say this. Part of dealing with root before fruit, I think, is going, if you're dealing with an issue that you constantly keep on running up against, whether that's an addiction, whether that's a behavior, whether that's a thought, whether that's whatever that is, if you are constantly running up against it and you are having a hard time overcoming that issue, you need help with that. Like, you just can't, definition of insanity, do the same thing over and over and expect a different result, right? You need to go to someone and you need to go, hey, I'm struggling in this area. I need help. I need accountability. In some cases, you need professional counseling. You need to go before a Christian counselor. You need to go, this is what I'm struggling, this is what I'm dealing with, and I need help on knowing how to deal with these issues in a healthy way.
Yeah, and so one little quick note on that, I'll piggyback on kind of what you're saying. So something I struggled with for a long time is I would get into these patterns and then I would sin. Well, talking to a child of God right now, God doesn't judge you. Like, if these patterns keep reoccurring in your life, he's not, yes, these need to go, but there's a reason he's showing this to you.
Yeah.
Tragically, God has had to show me my own sin by allowing me to fail.
That's good, yeah.
Now, from a legalist's perspective, or let's say I'm a repented legalist.
Yeah.
I repented of that, right?
Sure.
So, no, but there was a time in which I would fail. God was like, now do you see you struggle with this and you need my help? I still love you,
Right.
and I'm trying to get you through this, but I had to show this to you the hard way because you would not be self-aware, right? Well, then I would just live in the defeat of like, oh, well, I just keep failing God, and so I wouldn't turn to him and try to, lean on his grace to get through this sin. So
Right.
just be cognizant of that.
It's good. So, guys, as we wrap up tonight, here's what we want you to know is that we are here for you. We love you. We want to be in relationship with you. If there are things, like if you're watching and maybe you text in one of those questions and you want to talk more about that to one of us, please let us know. You can go on our website, reallifeministries.com/young-adults. Our text, the number that you can text is on there. We sent out a text earlier today. If you didn't get that, go on our website, send us an email, just say, hey, didn't receive a text. We'll add you onto that list of just keeping you updated on different things. But you can email me directly on there. Follow us on social media, message us. We are here for you. We want to be available to you. If you're dealing with some things that you want to talk with someone about, you want someone to pray with you, we are here for you. And we are, obviously, this is going to be our last week of live, which we're excited about.
Woo!
Woo! We get to be back in person next Thursday. But don't wait until next Thursday to be back in person. Here's what's going to happen. The Holy Spirit's placing something on your heart and on your mind right now that he wants you to deal with. Like, there's convictions going on right now of God going, hey, I want you to deal with this. I want you to deal with this. I want you to pray about this. I want you to talk to someone about this. And we're going to end this live here in just a couple minutes, and the devil's going to get back into your mind. He's going to manipulate. He's going to lie. He's going to distract you from doing the thing that God calls you to do. See, there's a quote that says the devil doesn't have to make you bad. He just has to make you busy, right? And so preventing you from doing what God's called you to do is what the devil's going to want from you. So don't be distracted. Do what God's calling you to do. Reach out. Get a hold of us. Let us pray with you. Let us talk with you. Let us sit down and have a conversation with you. We're here for you. As we wrap up tonight, Paul, thanks again just for sharing your story, man. And this is what we've been encouraging everyone to do during this series, is you have a platform. Every one of you has a platform. It might not be on a stage, in front of a camera, on Young Adult Live, but you have a platform where hundreds of people get to hear your story. So on your social medias, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Twitter, on, am I missing any? Any of those platforms.
Good chance.
MySpace.
FaceSpace.
The FaceSpace.
I don't know. The interweb.
Hey, we want you to share your story. And so on whatever platform you choose, share your story, share your testimony, and hashtag How Jesus Saved Me. We're calling it the How Jesus Saved Me Challenge. I challenge you, I dare you, and I will even go as far as to say I double dog dare you to share your story. Share it. Every single week we've had someone get on there and share their story of how Jesus saved them. Hashtag How Jesus Saved Me, and then tag Real Life Young Adults 1825. We'd love to be able to see it, watch it, and encourage you in that. So we love you. We can't wait to see you. Let us know how we can be praying for you, and we will see you guys next Thursday in person. See you then.